Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 196. As always, I'm your host, James Shotwell, and it is great to be with you again. My guest this week is none other than the wonderful Nick DiSalvo of the band Elder, whose new album, Omens, will be arriving on April 24th. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the band Elder, you're really in for a treat. They make these big, cinematic, lush rock songs that some people call stoner metal, some people call experimental rock, but I call it really good music. And I highly suggest that you check out Omens. It's a fantastic album, and Nick and I are going to talk about it in just a few moments. But first, I want to tell you a couple quick things. This episode of Inside Music and all episodes of the show are brought to you by Holix, the music industry's leading promotional distribution company. Whether you're trying to promote your next single or your next album, Holix is the choice for you. So visit holix.com today, that's HAULIX.com today, and sign up for a 1-month free trial. Also, head over to YouTube and check out our channel. It's called Music Biz. That's Music B-I-Z. Once you get there, you can find videos on how to make it in the music industry, as well as every episode of Inside Music. It's a really good project. We've been working on it for a long time, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. And if you need a job, head over to our blog, HAULIXDaily.com. That's HAULIX Daily.com for a free music industry job board. If you've done all those things or none of those things, then the only thing left to do is to sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Inside Music with my pal Nick from the band Elder. Live in Berlin now?
Yeah.
That's probably for the best.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty good place to be at the moment, for sure.
What is the world like there right now?
It feels like weirdly normal. We're in the middle of a absolutely gorgeous spring. Social distancing is still in place, but there's a general sense of like, we're doing okay. The news is very factual and just kind of chilled out. They're already lifting some restrictions on Monday for smaller businesses and stuff. So it's weirdly like kind of everything feels kind of like back to normal. Although I know it's not. Maybe it's just because I spend most of my time in my apartment or in my practice space, so I'm not really out on the pound the pavement too much.
Yeah, I work from home, so I haven't really noticed too much of a change other than my partner is afraid to go outside. So I'm now doing like all of the grocery shopping, and she somehow convinced me she can't take the dog outside. But otherwise, it's pretty much like as usual.
Oh yeah, I've been doing all the shopping for the past, I don't know, month and a half. So, but I feel you on that. I was just watching this fucking thing about these crazy gun-toting people protesting against the governor in Michigan to open business. Not to sidetrack us for too long, but
no, it's crazy, and it's the kind of thing where if you live here, you know those people. It's impossible not to. But if you don't live here, you think everyone in the state is that exact crowd of people.
Yeah, I don't have that impression of Michigan. Actually, I was surprised that happened there, but every state has its fucking rednecks and crazy people. The same thing in Massachusetts, where we're from, and that's deep blue country.
Yeah, well, I lived in Boston for about 5 years, and it always shocks me when I see anything like that online for the same reasons, because I'm like, I mean, I've been out to Springfield and that part of the state, but you just never see it so much. So when it does make national headlines, people are like, where are those Massachusetts people from?
Oh yeah.
The other 75%
most people don't realize that, like, yeah, so many like old school Bostonians are totally racist pieces of shit too. It's like not as liberal as the places you might think.
Yeah, movies make it seem cool, and it is cool, but it's cool, like thinly veiled assholeism that's just kind of cool. Well, I want to ask you, since you live in Berlin, and yesterday, or I guess 2 days ago now, we kind of got the news about Wacken and all the big rock festivals being canceled because of Angela Merkel's move to extend the large gathering ban. How is the live music world out there, and how are you kind of dealing with navigating this time?
It's not looking good, really. It's we kind of had a realistic outlook on the thing from the get go. We were already predicting that we were going to have to postpone our tour dates that we had set up in May to directly support our record in the States, and we were correct on that. I don't think any of us anticipated that we'd be looking at into the summer and now even into the fall. Beyond that, some people are saying not until we have a vaccine, and venues are going to be the last things to reopen after all of this is done. It's a total nightmare. I'm not trying to sensationalize this too much, because for us it's not a matter of life and death. It is a matter of funding and keeping yourself afloat. But it's crazy to see your entire world that kind of torn down like that, and just not know when things are going to reopen. It's really uncertain.
Yeah, it's really strange. And being on the inside of the industry, it seems like every day I'm on a conference call or I overhear a call where someone has a completely different set of data points, and you're just like, where are we getting this information from? Like, what are we doing now? What is this? What are we talking about now? And I'm sure you're getting calls that's like, well, maybe you guys can do this tour, or the big thing now is like, well, maybe you can play, but it's going to be 50% cap, or we're only doing door deals, or some other like 6 asterisks on, yeah, maybe you can play again.
Yeah, it's been kind of like that. I mean, we're just inching forward, and we've got everyone in our camp and all of our, booking agents. We're all on the same page, and everyone's just trying to do the best thing and the most cautious move. And the best thing is really just to kind of not plan anything until you're really sure. It looks like, because we've already been through like the flights bought and visa payment and all the stuff that we can't use anymore. So the last thing we want to do is dig ourselves any more holes that we can't fill up.
That's a great point. And now I think the next wave of talking about this in the industry will be economic related stories to things like that. Lost flights. I know today there's a story from the lead singer of Carnifex said something about how they were out like $250,000 from canceled tours and things like that. I think that'll be the next wave of stories that we're seeing. Now it's not all these things are canceled. It's like, and here's the impact of all these things being canceled.
Oh yeah, totally. I feel bad. Our manager, he's a good buddy, and he runs a couple venues in London, and we talk all the time, and I'm always just asking him about what's going on with your venues, because he's on the other side of I guess we're all on the same side, but we're a band, he's got the venue. It's just interesting to hear everybody's stories, and it's nice. There is kind of like everyone's, of course you got to be solidarity, you got to be in solidarity with the other people who are struggling through it too. And it's people are getting ingenious with their fixes.
Yes, they are. I've never had, so I've been doing a lot of interviews for a couple of different projects right now, and I've never heard the word Twitch so many times in my life. And now it is like every other conversation, someone's like, can I plug my video game guitar Q&A performance thing on Twitch? And I'm like, yeah. So it's interesting how people are kind of diversifying their revenue streams, and it'll be curious to see, like, when we do get back to live music, how many people abandon those new things and how many are just like, well, I can still do this because now I have this online community that like expects me to create content just for them.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing too. I mean, I hate social media and I hate this kind of stuff. I'm like, not, a lot of people are gregarious and super happy to be on camera and this kind of shit. Like, as a band, that's the last thing I want to be doing. And now it's kind of like the only thing you can do is trying to interact with your fans and remind them, like, hey, we're here, even though we're not coming to your city anytime soon.
Exactly. And you guys are right now preparing to release this new record, Omens, that is probably not planned, but oddly fitting for the times that we live in a way.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't picturing a pandemic when we were writing the record, but definitely talking about a catastrophe on a global scale. So I think it's just as fitting as if this were to happen next year, to be honest.
Yeah, probably. I did an interview the other day with Trevor from the Black Dahlia Murder, their new record Verminous. Similar, it's themes of plagues, and he's like, "Listen, I didn't plan this, but it is weirdly fitting to kind of bring an album out at this time that deals with the end of a civilization or deals with the world being struck by a virus or crisis when it's actually happening."
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about the world we live in is just, the scale of catastrophes is getting worse and worse. And anyone who keeps themselves kind of informed on happenings on a daily basis and is up on a little bit of science and global outlook of the planet's health, you can make a record about it. I'm going to make a record about like the fucking biggest storm to ever hit Florida, and it just could be that storm's going to hit next year, and everyone's going to come looking to our record for it. So it's it's a good time if you want to make those kind of really negative records about the downfall of humanity.
It's never been a better time to be talking about the downfall of humanity.
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoy the record, and I want to talk about it, but I want to completely derail what we've been talking about real quick, because one of my favorite releases in your catalog is your live album, and I'm curious what you think makes a great live record.
Man, I think a good live record for me, first and foremost, the songs that I really like a live record where the band is doing something different than on the record. And not just that they sound different because it's a live performance, but actual like really digging into the songs, doing something different, improvising, making a new version, flipping it on its head. That for me is the point of a live record, kind of, which we don't really do at all in that record that you have, but. Those were different times. Maybe we can remedy that somehow.
It's one of those things where a live record can really, well, I mean, depending, some people like to go in and add extra tracks, but a lot of live records, you really get a sense for just how tight the band is cohesively. Like I always point to one of my favorites is the first Allman Brothers live record, because they just come on stage. There's no like hello or anything. They just like rip into the first song. It's like 11 minutes long, and you're just like, yeah, these guys got it. Whatever it is, they're like in sync, making magic happen in front of people.
Yeah.
And when I hear that 2013 live record of yours, that's like, even now I was listening to it this morning, getting ready to talk to you, and I was just like, just has that feeling where it's just like they for that hour, you guys are just like in sync in this crazy way to me, where I'm like, I don't know how you do that. As an only child, I have no idea of how to like sync up with another human being that much.
I find it very flattering you had mentioned that record in the same breath as the Allman Brothers, but I mean, the energy on that record is definitely something. It was our first European tour. We were still, relatively young dudes, and just playing a festival that we'd always it's kind of like, I think we were playing that show thinking, this is it. Like, this is the best moment of our career as a band. Like, we're never going to play a better show than this. And like, really the adrenaline was just like crazy, I think, for that whole set. But as far as being tight, it used to be just the three of us, me, Jack, our bassist, and Matt, our first drummer. And we were like, old school friends. We'd known each other for a very long time and just been playing music together since we were kids. So we knew each other extremely well musically. And there's no question of us being a tight band, I think. It just wasn't possible to be any other way. Unless one of us was too fucked up, I guess that could happen.
Well, obviously, but let's jump to Omens, because it's coming out soon, and I don't want to like only ask you one thing about it. Something I love to ask any band that falls into your realm of songwriting, where there are these very longer form songs. I mean, most of the tracks on the record are 10 minutes. It's kind of like the norm for you guys. When the label or whoever approaches you and is like, all right, it's time to start telling people about the record, what song do you want to release first? I mean, for a lot of artists, it's like, well, let's pick the catchy one. But for you guys, how do you decide what song people hear first?
I think that's a good question. I guess you try to lead with a song. If you've only got 5 songs, it's not like you can really. You're already giving away a good chunk of the album, and versus if you got a release where you have 10 songs. Okay, just to throw something out as a leading track might be a little easier somehow, because all of our songs are pretty different on this record, and it's always been a different decision-making process. But with this one in particular, we kind of wanted to provoke people by putting out consciously the song that's the most different than anything we've done ever before. Just to kind of stir the pot a little bit and see what happened, really. And we felt that this was actually the strongest song for that moment. Somehow it was like we wanted something with high energy, and it ended up being the track that we never would have considered as a contender for single going into the whole thing, which is really funny. There's just no way to tell, but could have also just thrown fucking, darts at the wall with the tracks listed out and just gone randomly, because I like all the songs on this record. I think they're all pretty much equally strong. But yeah, the main motivation for this one was really just to kind of throw people for a loop with something that sounded quite different than the rest of our catalog.
And on that note, when you guys were working on this record, did you know going into it that you really kind of wanted to do a bit of a paradigm shift with what you were exploring sonically on this album? Or is that something that you're working on a track and you're like, no, why don't we go here with it kind of after you're already in the process of writing the record?
No, like we don't really think too much about where we're going sonically at all, to be perfectly honest. I'm the principal songwriter of the band, and I write music pretty much every single day. I'm working on songs and I'm recording stuff, and I've got, I don't really see the development. I might have an idea of, okay, this obviously sounds different because there's more atmospheric parts and there's less riffs, or there's more, there's more dense chords and there's more groove or something, but there's no intention. It's just kind of, oh, I like this, I'm going to keep going with this and see where it ends up. It sounds cliche, but it does kind of happen organically.
No, I don't think that that's cliche at all. I mean, at the end of the day, you're doing the same thing over and over for a decade. You would hope that it gets a little bit more intricate, a little bit more technical as you progress.
Yeah, seems natural to me, I guess. You'd be surprised. It's just, it's boring to play the same kind of, I don't want to write two songs that sound the same, because nobody needs to hear the same song twice. That's kind of just the whole thing. And so things get a little bit more intricate or a little bit weirder as time goes on, because we're just trying to, keep doing something new all the time. And that just necessitates a little more exploration.
Yeah, I kind of felt like this felt like the obvious next step, especially after hearing the EP last year, even though I know those songs were created kind of under a different circumstances than being like, we're definitely going to write and release something right now. But hearing Gold and Silver Sessions, it was like, oh, so here's something else we can do. And I was like, so on the next album, we'll probably put at least some of these two different sets of ideas together and see what that creates.
Yeah. And that was really we went to record that EP with the expectation that it would be something quite different for the rest of our catalog, that it was going to be a one-off release as part of this vinyl series. And it was supposed to sound, it was kind of supposed to be like a sidestep from the rest of the catalog, not necessarily a step in the progression, but it ended up being a step in the progression because we really liked doing that kind of more relaxed, jammed out thing again, which is something we really hadn't done in years, since we used to, go to the practice space and, I don't know, smoke weed and drink beer and just kind of jam for hours. We just hadn't really done that in forever. That wasn't what went into this record, but it kind of showed us again that there's definitely a place for that kind of thing in our music. And it's not like you have to be going 100 miles an hour all the time with all these, crazy parts and riffs. It's good to kind of, pump the brakes every once in a while and give some, atmospheric shifts as well.
And then we get to Omens yet again, and it feels oddly cinematic at times. It has a lot of flourishes. There's a rise and a fall to tracks, but also the whole thing the album as a whole. So it's interesting to see how that kind of came back, and it was like, because it does feel like you do take the pedal off the gas just a bit in terms of maybe speed, but intensity almost revs up at times.
Yeah, every Elder song, again, not something that's intentional usually, but every Elder song is kind of like a little story in and of itself, and it kind of unfolds in a certain way. And this record, I think, is a pretty tight collection of songs compositionally that were also, we really thought about the structure of all the songs fitting together too in the grand scheme, because we had this idea to make it a concept album, and that may or may not have panned out the way we wanted it to be, but at least we were thinking for once about how each song relates to the next in the overall flow of the big picture too. And I think if you do have the patience to sit down and listen to the whole record in one go, it works that way.
Well, fortunately, right now, everyone has at least the time to sit down and listen to the record in one full go.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's all about the attention spans, but
I've been getting some pitches recently from people that are like, if you have time, and I know you have time. All right, calm down. We're getting there. I do want to ask you this before I let you go, though. This record is coming out at a strange time for music. You guys aren't able to be on the road supporting it soon. What has it been like, especially as a person that's not a huge social media person, trying to promote a record, knowing that everyone is like locked indoors and you don't know when you're going to be able to like get out there and be face to face with them again?
It somehow there's this weird feeling that like we're trying to do as much as we can to actively promote the record. Normally all of us would be together and rehearsing and making the set list and getting really pumped up and making all the preparations to go on tour, doing the things that a real band does. And now I just feel like some fucking nerd sitting on my computer, like writing everyone else who's just sitting on their computer and like telling them to buy my record. It feels like you get what I'm saying? Like, it feels like I'm not in a band at the moment because
Absolutely.
There's like nothing going on. I'm just like, oh yeah, we did this thing. And well, the band's not active right now, but like, please buy it. It's hard. And you lose the momentum, obviously, because we're not going to get to tour off this record and properly promote it for who knows.
No, I completely understand. And unless the band is either very tech savvy and can connect online, or you all live in vicinity of one another, I think you're in the same position as a lot of groups where it's like, well, I'm in a band, but right now I'm kind of a content director for a group that sometimes exists. I don't, it's weird.
Yeah. At least I do think it's nice on the other side of things that there's something that people can look forward to. People who are into the band, they have something new to listen to. I love it when a band that I love drops a new record, especially now. It's a great time to sit and listen to something. So there's no doubt that it's like therapeutic for the people. And I think it may, who knows, maybe that'll work out to our benefit, or at least, we can normalize record sales that way and more people will have a chance to dive into it. I don't know. And, trying to write more music, maybe we're going to have another record ready by the time this thing blows over. Maybe this will be the album that time forgot that we tried to promote and couldn't, but we'll see what happens.
I like that attitude. I've talked to a lot of artists who are maybe not publicly stating it yet, but are like, we're kicking around some recording ideas, or we've written another, EP's worth of songs because we have to do something together, and we just got to decide whether or not we can invest the money to actually make them a reality.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there's nothing. You might as well use the time productively somehow. If you can't be on tour and you can write songs, then write more songs. So it's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, you got to assume most people will, when they can go back to touring, they're going to be like, well, we got to make up all of this lost time, so we might as well have more content ready to go and just keep going, just stay on the road. Yeah.
Well, we're lucky at least 3 of 4 of us live in the same city, so we're meeting up now regularly, already starting again for no particular reason to hammer out the set list and get tight again. So I guess, but kind of just to kick off the dust. But by the time we can finally tour again, we'll make a contender for that 2013 live record.
And yeah, no excuses for bad performances in 2021 at this point. Like, everyone needs to be tight.
Yeah. That's for damn sure.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. We got you out of here in time to do your next thing. And this is fun. I've been really enjoying the record. It's always weird to talk to somebody about a record that has such heavy themes, but it's fun. I really enjoyed it. It's a really good bad time. But I'm also somebody that loves an independent film that I know is going to just crush my soul. So it's good. It's fun. I can have a fun time feeling bad. And I just, it's been cool watching you guys continue to evolve. And I do hope that there is another live record down the line.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll see. Thanks. Thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed the record. Thanks for your time too. Thanks for helping us promote this in whatever way we can. It's much appreciated.
Absolutely, man. This is going to be out a couple of days before the record, so everyone listening, go pick up Omens, or I guess you can't pick it up anywhere, so just stream it or buy it online. There's no record stores at this point in time, at least here in the States. But support you guys. You guys will be on the road as soon as you can be. And
Yes.
have a great night, man. Since I know that it's evening there.
Yeah. All right. You too. Talk to you later, James. Bye.